Well, hello everyone. First of all, I would like to congratulate to all men and boys in the audience for International Men's Day today. So that's for start. All right. I am Antonela Mamuca, COO of EPTI, a venture builder company. So what is a venture builder? That actually means that on a regular basis, what we do is, well, fire up tech startups, and then we follow them all the way through to actually becoming new companies, if everything goes well, of course. So I will today talk about, well, one of our new ventures called Workamo. But before that, a little bit more on EPTI and how we actually do things. How do we build ventures? Because that is what I want to share with you. So we have our offices located in several cities around Europe, but we support completely 100% free remote work. So you can decide to work, I don't know, from the beach, from the cafe bar, from your home, or you can decide to come in the office because we support that as well, of course. So what is important, geographical location is completely irrelevant, but time zone, well, that's something that is very relevant because although we support 100% remote, we do not base our work as work for individuals, but we are very carefully grouped and teamed up around our ventures. So it's important that teams are in the same time zone or that they can cope with different time zones, of course. So let's start with Workamo. Just brief status of this venture currently. I believe it's the newest one, and it's in between define and the build phase. So let's see how do we do things like this. But let's go back from the beginning. So meet John. John is an enthusiast traveler, and he's been traveling around the world for the last 5 years, 5 or 6, and he's a great photographer. So he's so good that he actually made this into a living. He pays for all of his travel expenses and his living costs just by selling photographies to National Geographic, to Guardian Travel, and similar. So he's doing very well. This is Sarah. Sarah lives in Berlin. She's a student at Berlin Law and Economics School, but she doesn't have a student loan because all her Saturdays are actually sold out for being a DJ at 3 or 4 most famous Berlin clubs. She claims that although she will become 9-to-5 worker, she will never actually give up these gigs of being a DJ. John, on the contrary, he says that he will actually never really be 9-to-5, worker. So what's happening now? There is this global and spontaneous movement, spontaneous because these two don't know each other. And it's shifting completely away from this relationship between employer and employee that we all got used to by now. So it's an old news already, so it's not nothing new. You all know Johns and Sarahs, and they are making good money, and they're getting younger, but also they're getting older as well. So when you look at generations, it's not only millennials, it's not only Z generation, it's people who are, I don't know, who are retired already, and they still want to do some gig work, of course. They want to stay active. So there's more and more of these types of workers. So they're professionals, they do great stuff, and they're getting paid for that. But how are they actually doing that now? How are they achieving that? So how are they being paid? That's the question. And, well, today it really differs a lot if you observe one country by country. Legislations are, well, they're changing to actually catch up with this movement, but this happens rather slow. We targeted Sweden because we have local presence there, we have offices there. So our launch, which is, well, ETA for the Workamo is first quarter of 2020. We will start with Sweden. You will understand why after my talk. So, what happens is that depending on the markets and other countries, these gig workers, they engage with different types of platforms, different types of company, Sometimes they do invoices themselves, but anyway, they need some tool to actually charge for their services. Because remember, they're so good that they can actually live out of that. Or maybe they have it as a side job as well, but they don't want to give up on that, of course. So that was the background at team in EPTI on how we actually groomed the idea of a new venture. We realized, all right, I mean, we're not the only one out there. There are platforms for gig workers. There are matchmaking platforms, there are payout platforms, some fictional companies, how they call it. And it's getting more and more involved in today's world. But we observed how things are, and we realized that, okay, we should actually make that gig workers payouts faster and easier, because there is still a lot of space there for improvement. Also, well, gig workers don't have the same rights as when you look at traditional worker. So they're not insured from not getting paid. They're not insured when there is some dispute, if someone doesn't want to actually pay them. So we decided, okay, let's take care of that too for them. Why not? I mean, that's something that I would pay for. I would pay for such service that of an insurance for my money, for the things that I work for a living. And, well, the hardest part, a lot of them actually get to calculating their taxes on their own. That gets both time-consuming, and also it can get expensive if they give it to someone else to actually do it for them. So we decided to build a platform that will, well, enable everyone who wants to be a gig worker to do it easier, to just onboard, jump there, click a few buttons, and voila, there is an invoice for the services he did. And of course, since we're there and having a platform, why not invite anyone who wants to hire a gig worker to actually see the database, to browse, to do the matchmaking part as well. I mean, it's almost out of the box if you put things correctly. So, yeah, we decided in our case, let's make a new venture out of it. Okay, so what did we realize? I already mentioned there are platforms out there that do similar things. They do something. So we decided, okay, let's see what we need to do to be fastest and cheapest. Because those are the things that we observe, also by knowing a lot of gig workers myself. These were the biggest pains. They wait for so long to get paid. And yeah, if they don't do their tax calculations on their own, then they actually need to pay a certain amount of money for someone to do it for them. And we all decided, okay, let's be broadest. So I will explain later on what we meant by being broadest. How we did it? Well, this is how we actually did it. PE Accounting is Swedish digital accounting company. At this moment, it's a company that provides the best service in Sweden, service of this kind. So we set our eyes on them, well, pretty much immediately, because if we would have automated digital accounting, that would mean we're surely the fastest one out there. There are no group of accountants sitting in the offices calculating things by hand or through their tools. So, well, there is no bottlenecks in processing. We're not limited to a team of 1, 2, 3, 7, 20 accountants. So no bottlenecks, we have things automated. As well, if you connect the dots, this actually makes us the cheapest as well. So this was our equation. So if you look at it like this, all right, it sounds rather easy. You just choose a partner who's out there having something, then you decided to jump on the train, call them up with you, and you did the platform. We're still in development, in the build phase. But as you all know, well, especially integrating through, partnering through technical integration is not actually always a very easy thing to do. So we did address all our technical issues with the integration. And the first one we focused on was, well, downtime. We want 100% availability of the service, I mean, you all know what this means. If there are some of underlying processes or systems, if they're down, if they're not responsive, we said, no way, Workamo user must not feel nothing like that. So we addressed that one first. I would say it's a smart decision. You might agree or not, but for us, it seems like a reasonable thing to start with. What else did we do? So, since we didn't want to just stop at being cheapest and fastest, we wanted to use that advantage to generate even more advantage. So we decided to then tackle the broadest part. Broadest actually means that, well, single physical person can be actor on both ends of the spectrum of this new economy. So I can be company administrator that wants to hire a photographer for example, I don't know, New Year's Eve dinner for my group of people. Or I can be a physical person, as in mom, who wants to arrange a birthday party to have some puppet play and want to find some gig workers who will actually come to my home and do the puppet play for my son's birthday, for example. Or maybe I want to do gig work on my own. So, for example, I don't know, piano lessons on Saturday afternoons, although no one would actually pay for that, so yeah, we can skip that idea. Anyway, there's obviously a technical challenge that we also tackled immediately because we needed to define our actors, our roles, and who do we want to get in and how are we going to actually get the crowd in. And that's the ACL, Access Control Layer Architecture. You have tackled this with pretty much every system that you have built so far, I guess, at least most of you did. So, yeah, that was one of the technical challenges as well to resolve. So what I'm trying to say here, we decided on what are we going to build, as in what will be our new venture. We tackled our technical issues, the ones that we actually figure out most important to tackle immediately, and we actually made sure to find partners that will ensure our competitive advantages. So it's, for us, it turned out to be a good recipe for venture building. So if any one of you also wants to know more about recipes on how to actually go and build things, as in start them from, startup and try to build them, grow them, scale them, we have a lot of various examples here, so you can reach me later, we can talk about this more. So that would, if we had more time. Of course, one of the good things I also want to share with you is being a venture builder yourself actually means that you have kind of a freedom that your development team can come and say, oh, well, today let's rewrite the whole backend, for example. And I'm CEO of the company, so I say, what? You want to rewrite the whole backend? For what reason? And they say, well, now we're in love with the .NET Core for, since yesterday, so let's try to do it like that. So being a venture builder, it means that you can actually make that decision. You can decide if it will allow you clean architecture, if it will allow you maintenance, long-term, and scalability, then you can actually do it. So we didn't actually rewrite the whole backend, but we did rewrite backend that we built for first 2 sprints. So the developers were definitely happy. So a lot of stories still to share, and I hope that I will share information and how we actually launched the Workamo on the next year's Shift conference in Dublin, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you all for patience.